Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. We are so excited. We have Dr. Stephen Gundry here, and he has just written a book called The Gut Brain Paradox. It's going to improve your mood, clear your brain fog, and reverse your disease. And so we're so excited. Welcome, Dr. Gundry.
Thanks for having me back. Great to be back.
I want you to talk a little bit about, I feel like more and more people by the day are getting autoimmune conditions. It's literally like every day you see another person, autoimmune, autoimmune, autoimmune. Talk about why it's skyrocketing right now and what people need to do to actually reverse that autoimmune condition.
You're correct. Back when I was in medical school, again, very long time ago, autoimmune diseases existed. They were so rare that when we'd run out of explanations why somebody had something, we'd say, let's order the funny tests. And they were called funny tests because it was so odd to have an autoimmune disease that the tests were funny because, oh, no, they don't have that. And every now and then we'd see, somebody with rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's thyroiditis or psoriasis, but it was really rare. Now there are estimates that up to 65 million women in the United States have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. It's like, what the heck? And if you'll notice, literally almost every commercial on TV is for an autoimmune disease. And you see all these happy people with, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's or eczema or psoriasis or you name it. And everybody's happy and the band's playing and they're in a beautiful place. And it's all I do is take this immunosuppressant drug and my autoimmune disease will go away. When I started looking at this, I was among other things, a baby heart transplant surgeon. And I was a transplant immunologist. And by that, I studied how the immune system worked, what the immune system was looking for. And then I developed ways to tell the immune system, ignore this heart that I put into this baby or this human, and came up with ways to make it stop attacking. So when my first book came out, there were several people who had reversed autoimmune diseases like fibromyalgia, like Hashimoto's, like rheumatoid arthritis. And people started coming to my office and go, what do you know about autoimmune disease? And I go, I don't know anything about autoimmune disease, but I'm a transplant immunologist and I know a lot about how the immune system operates. And if you want to play, let's play. And so now about 80% of my practice is autoimmune patients who have been everywhere and are not getting better. And there was, through the years, more and more evidence, particularly from researchers like Alessio Fasano. Dr. Fasano is a pediatric gastroenterologist who's now at Harvard. He's from Italy originally. He wanted to figure out why celiac disease, which is the extreme form of gluten intolerance, happened. And he was one of the principal people who discovered how leaky gut occurs with, for instance, gluten. Gluten, by the way, is a lectin. And we subsequently have developed ways of measuring leaky gut. Professor at Colorado State University, Dr. Cordain, showed that one of the plant defense systems is lectins, and these proteins, we think, are designed by plants to mimic other proteins in our body, so that if we think we're under attack and we have leaky gut, our immune system is instructed to go look for these foreign proteins, and it just so happens these foreign proteins look remarkably similar to other proteins in our body. They're close enough that if we think we're at war, then we'll shoot to kill and ask questions later. And it's a theory called molecular mimicry. And with each passing year, that theory becomes more and more accepted as the cause of leaky gut. And what's exciting to me is, number one, every patient with autoimmune disease that I see has leaky gut when they come into the office. And the exciting thing, and I've published this results, that after a year, 94% of my patients with an autoimmune disease are in remission on no medications, which is not bad, I would say. Now, and we can show that the leaky gut is gone. And we can actually show the markers of autoimmune disease going down and down and down as the leaky gut is sealed. In fact, one of my kind of favorite stories is usually a new patient is seen by my physician assistant first, and then I see them on the subsequent visit. And I saw a woman in her 50s who had Hashimoto's thyroiditis and had markers of Hashimoto's. There's 2 blood tests that show it. And my physician assistant had given her the program. And I saw her back 6 months later with new labs. And I always, introduce myself and say, so, what are you doing here? And she said, well, I'm here because I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And I said, no, you don't. And she looks at me and she said, what kind of idiot are you? Of course I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I said, oh, yeah, you had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, but you don't now. And she's, what? And so I showed her, in the new results, and all of her markers for Hashimoto's weren't gone. She didn't have it anymore. She said, but that's impossible. You can't get rid of it. I said, well, yeah, I'd be out of business if you couldn't get rid of it. But that's the sort of miracle that I get to see every day.
I want to talk to you guys about a couple things that I can't live without. Number one, after I eat, I'm always taking Masszymes to digest my food and HCl breakthrough. Those are the 2 things after I eat, especially if I ate just a tiny bit more than I wanted to. I'm always taking these, but I try to take this after each meal. This is like a non-negotiable for me. If for some reason I think that maybe I went to a restaurant, I try to avoid gluten like the plague, but I will take this Gluten Guardian by Bioptimizers. It's amazing. And use coupon code Chantel Ray 10 if you ever do it. And then every single night, without fail, if I don't take it, I don't sleep as well. This is the magnesium breakthrough. This to me is like the best product that there is. It's 7 different forms of magnesium. And if you're having trouble sleeping or not sleeping great, this is a game changer. It's the magnesium breakthrough by Bioptimizers. Use coupon code Chantel Ray 10. What would you say are the foods that if you took kind of an advanced health nutritionist and they would say, this is healthy, and you would look at them and say, no, this is not healthy. What would you say that would be?
Well, like the plant paradox, the subtitle was The Hidden Dangers in Healthy Foods. Way up at the top of the list are healthy whole grains. Wheat, I do not have a patient with leaky gut who doesn't have antibodies to all the various components of wheat, rye, and barley. Oats have a protein that cross-reacts with gluten. And so oats are out. 70% of people who react to corn. And so we're taking away a lot of stuff. Quinoa, for instance, has a really nasty lectin. Buckwheat has a lectin. I wish it didn't, but it does. Interestingly, the Incas who used quinoa as a staple always fermented quinoa. They let it rot and then they cooked it. And it's not on the package direction. And one of the things that people should know is that fermentation really came about as a way of detoxifying these lectins, because bacteria will be more than happy to eat lectins. They kind of enjoy eating them. Long ago, we had a great set of bacteria in our gut that were perfectly capable of eating these plant defense compounds. But as unfortunately most of us know, our gut microbiome is a desert wasteland instead of a tropical rainforest. And that's among other things because we take so many antibiotics. Our food supply is filled with antibiotics. Our animals are fed antibiotics. Don't get me started on Roundup, glyphosate. Glyphosate is an antibiotic. It was patented by Monsanto as an antibiotic. And so we just decimated our ability to handle these mischievous plant compounds. So whole grains and all of our wheat is sprayed with Roundup. All of our corn is sprayed with Roundup. All of our oats are sprayed with Roundup and another herbicide, which is banned by the EPA, but is still used. So that's number one. Number two is the nightshade family of vegetables. Interestingly enough, all of us in America, are originally from Africa, Europe, or Asia. There were Native Americans, but quite frankly, they're from Asia. So there were no Native Americans. Don't get mad. We're all from someplace else, even Native Americans. And we're all originally from Africa, but don't get mad. So when Columbus brought back New World foods 500 years ago, he brought back a ton of plants that our gut, our immune system had never encountered before. And that include the nightshade vegetables, potatoes, peppers, peppers, eggplant, tomatoes. Believe it or not, goji berries are from the United States. They were called wolfberries. They're a nightshade, darn it.
Jalapeno peppers.
Jalapeno peppers. And interesting, the Southwest American Indians, who obviously grew and used peppers, always peeled and de-seeded their peppers before they either ate them or ground them into chili powder. Hot sauces traditionally were always fermented, like Tabasco sauce is fermented. Why? Because the fermentation allows bacteria to eat the lectins in these things. Interestingly enough, the Italians refused to eat tomatoes for 200 years after their native son, Columbus, brought them back because they believed them to be so deadly. And it wasn't until they started peeling and de-seeding them that they started to use them. In fact, by law in Italy, you have to peel and de-seed tomatoes to make tomato sauce.
So let me ask you this. Will you eat a tomato if someone peeled it, de-seeded it, and then cooked it?
You're gonna love this. My mother's mother was French, and she taught my mother that you could not eat a tomato until you peeled and de-seeded it. So growing up, I always had sliced tomatoes that were peeled and de-seeded. And I thought that was normal. And it wasn't until I actually went to Yale as an undergraduate that I actually had my first sliced tomato with a peel and seed. And I thought it was the weirdest thing I ever tasted because it's like, and I'll tell you another hilarious story. Part of my training was in London, England in children's heart surgery. And we had a house officer from Italy, Bruno Merzi. And I said, boy, it'd be nice. I'm going to fix him a spaghetti dinner, make him feel at home. And so I invited him over for pasta and spaghetti sauce. And so I take a can of tomatoes and I put it in the saucepan. He said, and I start cooking. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to make tomato sauce. He said, are you trying to kill me? I said, what? What? And he said, you can't do that. There's peels and seeds in there. You're trying to kill me. He said, wait right here. So he runs up to his flat and he comes back with a can of Italian tomato sauce. And he said, here, we'll use this. And I said, what's the deal? And he says, peels and seeds and tomatoes will kill you. And I'm going, my mother said that. He said, of course, your mother was right. He said, how'd you forget? So
You guys, I want you to hear why Paul Saladino says that liver is so important.
Our ancestors were eating liver. And the reason that this sort of wisdom has been passed down is because liver is very nutritious. It's basically nature's multivitamin.
If you look at the nutrients in meat, you've got zinc, B6, B12, K2. And if you look at liver, it really complements what's in muscle meat. And there's so many unique nutrients that are found in organs, especially liver, and it's just a powerhouse. And these are difficult to obtain outside of liver. Liver and meat and organs they're kind of like peanut butter and jelly. They just go together. They're supposed to be eaten together. So there's two ways you could do it. You could like take liver and like cut it up and freeze it and then just swallow it as a pill. But that's kind of a lot of work. If you don't like to eat raw liver like me, I would suggest taking these supplements. They're amazing. Just go to heartandsoil.co, use the coupon code ChantelRay10 and save yourself a ton of money.
Did you guys know that 97% of Americans are deficient in at least one mineral? It's true. You need more than a dozen minerals for your body to function at its best, but with the standard American diet, it's almost impossible. So here's where Bean Minerals comes in. Guess what? All you have to do, take one little shot of this one little shot of this one, and guess what? It looks like this, but it tastes like water. Take one shot and boom, in 30 seconds a day, you're getting an entire thing of minerals instead of an entire cabinet of supplement bottles. So with Bean Minerals, we make mineral balance simple.
Wow. What's your thoughts on sweet potatoes and grass-fed, grass-finished raw dairy?
Great question. So sweet potatoes are really good for most people. They're not part of the potato family. I actually think yams are even better for you, but it's hard to describe yams and sweet potatoes differently. The purple sweet potato from Japan, which is now available, is my favorite. Dairy. I spend a lot of time in several of my books trying to convince people that unfermented dairy is a real mischief maker because of a sugar molecule that's in dairy, whether it's cow, whether it's goat, whether it's sheep, called nu5GC. And nu5GC is present in beef, lamb, pork, and dairy. We have a sugar molecule that lines our gut, that lines our blood vessels, that lines our blood-brain barrier, that lines our joints, which is nearly identical. It's called nu5AC. They differ by only one molecule of oxygen. Otherwise, they're identical. Sadly, if you and I swallow nu5GC, and this has been done in human volunteers, we will make an antibody to nu5GC as it is foreign, and we will attack it whenever we see it. Interestingly enough, because these molecules are so similar, we can incorporate nu5GC into our blood vessels, into our blood-brain barrier, into our joints, and we will attack it as a foreign compound. Also, cancer cells use nu5GC to produce local inflammation, which allows them to flourish. Cancer cells cannot make nu5GC. We have to acquire it from the diet. That's a long-winded answer to raw dairy. If you ferment dairy, if you ferment it into a yogurt, into a cheese, the nu5GC is eaten by the bacteria. So there is no nu5GC anymore. Here's the fun part, which I wrote about in Gut Check and also in this book. If you ferment beef, lamb, or pork in the form of a sausage, or like, for instance, prosciutto. The bacteria eat the new 5-GC, rendering it not only harmless, but the products of bacterial fermentation make these really cool postbiotics called polyamines. The most famous one is spermidine. I'll let you guess where that name came from. And these postbiotics are incredibly good for you. That's why one of the interesting things is that people who eat traditionally prepared sausages actually have some of the longest lifespans there is. And 4 of the 5 blue zones are actually fermented sausage and yogurt eaters, and that certainly goes against what people think makes a blue zone. But you gotta ferment it.
Well, we are out of time, but this was absolutely amazing. And I just personally want to say to you, you have literally changed people's health. You've changed my health. My mom is obsessed with you. Our whole family is. You are just one of the most incredible people. And just from the bottom of my heart, I really want to say you are changing people's lives. And right now, you guys, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go get the gut brain paradox. You're going to improve your mood. You're going to get rid of your brain fog, and you are going to reverse your disease, because everything, right, starts in your gut. We need to heal your microbiome. So you guys, make sure that you go get that book. We are so, so excited that you are with us today. Go get it. Go to Dr. Gundry's site. Tell us exactly where they can find the book.
Well, wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, try to help out your local bookseller. They were, as everyone knows, decimated during COVID, and they need our help. And they'll have the book. Most of my books are bestsellers, and they'll have it in stock. And if not, make them get it.
Yes, they do. Well, you're amazing. You guys, we're out of time. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.